All right, this is it. It's my favorite time of year. And you know what time it is? It's Love is Blind season. The first 5 episodes, I thought this was going to be the worst season we ever got. And now that I'm sitting here about to watch the weddings, I was pretty mediocre compared to some other seasons. I think following up season 6 is impossible. I don't think you can follow up season 6 with anything nearly as strong as that. That season was very special. I'm about to watch the weddings right now. We're going to watch the weddings, and I'm going to do a prediction of who I think's going to get married. And then in like an hour and a half, I'm going to come back, and I'm going to tell you my reactions on who did and did not get married. I'm going to pull up the cheat sheet right now. I made myself a cheat sheet. This is the sheet which we will cheat on. And there I am, right here. Alright, these are all the people that were on the show. These are all the people that potentially could have gotten married. I'm going to run down them real quick. I'm going to give you my expectations here. Let's talk about Leo and the white woman. I don't remember the white woman's name. I just know she likes athletes and rock stars. That's what she said. She likes musicians, which Leo is none of. I remember Leo because he was like particularly frustrating to listen to, but I do not remember anything about this white woman. I googled picture of white woman, and this is one of the first things that came up. Oh, Leo would talk about his money constantly. And it's not like he has money.
No, he was so annoying because no one would say a single word about it. He would just be like, I have so much money. I have so much money, and I really don't want a woman to want me for my money.
Yeah.
And no one ever said anything about it, and he was like obsessed with it. And then it would flash to a scene of like him in a room talking with the other guys, and he's like, "Oh, look at this Rolex I got." Like, he was just super weird about it.
No, Leo has money, but in the lamest form, where he's just like an absolute nepotism baby, and he just hasn't done anything to gain it, yet he has so much of it. And he's like especially frustrating too, because the way he talked to women was like so awkward and uncomfortable and like forward, but in a bad way, not in like a confident way, like in a really insecure way. I'd say he was very upfront about the things he was uncomfortable with, but also none of the women would ever mention the money thing. None of the women would ever talk about something that was sensitive to him. He would just bring it up and bring out his insecurities without anyone asking, which is the worst, which is really hard to listen to. I can't believe that Leo dated not only this person, but also where the fuck? How is this not the top layer? This person. I can't believe he dated both of them. And I will admit, this is my least favorite person in Love is Blind history, and we'll get to her. But the fact that Leo had 2 women that he was talking to at all, and they were willing to listen to him complain about him having money for that long, more than infuriating. Oh, dude, the fact that Leo found out that Taylor was, Taylor, I don't remember what she said particularly. Taylor's this Asian gentleman, or this Asian lad. Wait, lattice? What do you call it? This Asian lady right here. The fact that the second she mentioned that she wasn't white and Leo had like a baby mode meltdown doesn't make any sense to me at all. He could not believe the fact that he was talking to somebody that wasn't white, which is fucking ridiculous. Like, as if that changes anything. Cannot tolerate him. And it's also funny to me that the second that this white lady met Leo in the flesh, she knew she made a mistake, which is fucking awesome. I'm glad that's how it ended up. I feel bad that his feelings were validated so long to the fact that he got to talk to 2 women with the potential of proposing to them. He does not deserve that. He needs to work on his people skills and understanding social cues, because he's too much in his own head and in his own world to be on the show, straight up. So anyways, we're gonna put a big X on them just because it didn't work out. She rejected him at first sight, which is fucking amazing. Love is not blind. We'll do Tim and Max right now. Alright, I've come to a shocking realization. I fucking messed up really bad. I honestly forgot who these people were, and I just talked about nonsense the entire time I was talking about them. Also, I forgot to put Tyler and Ashley on this list at all. I forgot to put them on the cheat sheet. I forgot they existed, to be honest, because how boring they were. But I'll get into it real quick. Tim and Alex, every single time they argued. Like, every single time they had an argument or a confrontation come up, I had no idea what they were talking about. It was incredibly boring. And also, every single time they'd have an argument, Tim would complain about nothing, and then Ashley would tell him to shut up. Like, not literally, but she would kind of steamroll the conversation. She was in charge. And they just broke it off eventually. And the way they broke it off was boring as hell. It wasn't interesting. It was just such a disinteresting plot. I really wasn't a fan of the Tim or Alex whole bit in this show. And also Tim, when he got out of the pods and he first introduced himself and he said,
yeah, there's some things you'll hear about me. Not everyone likes me out there. They're gonna say some things. Horrible way to introduce yourself to somebody. And that's also stupid. It's like supposed to sound tough guy, but it really just sounds like you're kind of an asshole. To me, at least. It was just, I don't know. I didn't like Tim at all. And actually, she seemed to get really easily, like, flustered and upset whenever Tim would bring up any concern that he had about the relationship. And she would just take entire charge of the conversation. So both of those people seemed pretty frustrating as humans. I didn't like either of them, to be honest. And Tyler and Ashley are even worse, just because they were incredibly boring. They were too loving, they were too kind, and honestly, you can tell because by the end of this, show, when I'm making my list to talk about people, I couldn't even remember that they were in the show. I can't predict if Tyler and Ashley got married or not because I already know the answer. They did get married, and it was incredibly boring. I wanted to see them not get married because I want to see people get angry. I want people to fly out their entire family to an area for them to break it off. I think that's awesome. I think that's a good TV, but yeah, dude, these couples sucked. I'm gonna be real. All right, next one.
Okay, my thing with Marissa. Her mom seems like the worst person on earth. She seems like the most frustrating mother-in-law of all time. I literally can't stand her. And one of the problems I have with her is that I know she's just being protective of her daughter, and she says a lot of things that are like blatantly true and like normal, relatively. But she'll like announce to like a group of people that it's like, oh yeah, I said if he breaks up with her, I'll cut his balls off. That is not a normal human thing that you say to people. You don't go around. It's like almost embarrassing. It's like secondhand embarrassment to me. You don't say that to a crowd of people. That it's like, oh yeah, I said I was gonna cut his balls off. That's not hard. That's like weirdly embarrassing. It's like so immature for an adult woman to say to her daughter who's getting married to this, random dude, but still, like, come on, not cool. And also, let's talk about Marissa. She was in the army, and Ramses is really for that peace and love. He doesn't really like the military that much, and he's already been in a marriage once that didn't work. So he learned his lesson. He learned his mistake. I don't think Ramses is going to be willing to jump into a marriage like this, where he like ethically disagrees with this person on a very large level. So honestly, I don't see them getting married either. And also, this woman's like Marissa's entire life revolves around the military. Like all of her friends are military brats.
Yeah, I will say, I don't think they have the same vibe either. They don't seem like a couple.
No, they don't seem like a couple. They don't fit each other's aesthetic.
Mormon. Like, I don't know. Like, the vibes are just so different.
I think ex-Mormonism is cool because it's like an interesting story on a first date. Like, oh, how did you get out of the church? How did that, you know what I mean? How does that work? Because I think it's fascinating, but I don't think it's conducive to a marriage within 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say no to them, too. I don't think they're getting married. And I think I'll circle the person that says no. In this case, it's both of the men. I think they're saying no. This one was ridiculous. So Stefan and Monica. Monica seemed really hard. She seemed really aggressive, very forward with what she wanted, which is fine for some people. It's not my vibe per se, but I I respected her for standing on business at least. Stefan rolled over in every conversation. Monica would say one thing, and Stefan's automatic reaction is, oh, of course. Yeah, you're right. You're 100% correct. Which if I'm Monica, and every single time I talk to my love interest, and the first thing they say is I'm absolutely right about everything, that is not a good relationship. That is like the most frustrating thing to hear in the world. Because I want like somebody to disagree with me sometimes. I want someone who has like a little fight in them, a little dog. Like I was waiting the entire show for Stefan to say one negative thing about anything. Anyone. Just something. I want him to dislike anything. Because it really seems like he was hiding a lot of his personality and he was like devoid of any character up until we got the big reveal where Stefan was talking to other women or maybe men or non-binary people about weird sexual fetish shit that he wanted to do to them. Now, they already broke it off. They're done. And it was Stefan's fault, I guess. But legit, if I was Monica, I wouldn't have married him anyways because of how boring he was. He was clearly putting up a front. Like, in retrospect and at first. Like, because I could tell, like, there's, like, he's trying to play either for the cameras or for her. Like, he's trying to play, like, this, like, good guy role, and I just don't believe it. But, yeah, he's a sexual fetish freak. Also, I want to know what the fetish was. Was it, like, dom sub stuff? Was it furries? You know, what could it have been? I think, my prediction, I think it was, like, coming in, like, interesting places. I think that's what that guy was into. Well, he was cheating. Yeah, I gotta imagine it's, like, some BDSM stuff. Some freak shit. Well, also, he mentioned, I think like offhand, I don't think he was talking about him in particular, but Stefan mentioned something about like getting pegged, and I think he was trying to lead the conversation into her pegging him, which is my prediction. But I know he brought it up at some point.
No, I think because she was saying she wanted to wait until they got married to do butt stuff, and because she was saying that she didn't want to do it, and he wanted to, and she just didn't want to do that.
My whole thing with the butt stuff is that I don't think he was talking about doing it to her. I think he was talking about her doing it to him.
From the way their conversation seemed like, it seemed like he was talking about doing it to her, but then he said pegging, which is like way different. So it's like,
yeah, that's what I thought initially. I was like, he just wants to get pegged really bad.
It was crazy with them though, because at first I really liked him because I thought he was very sweet and very nice.
He seemed like a sweetheart, yeah.
Yeah, he seemed really nice and I liked him a lot. But then the thing you were talking about with him just being like, no, you're right, you're 100% right, it got like a lot more apparent, and he would do it all the time, and it started making me laugh because it was just like so unserious.
Yeah, the cheating's an automatic relationship killer, but also the fact that it was about probably pegging. He probably wanted to get pegged by some random girl. Pretty crazy. And also, this is a bad look for construction workers. Like, I have to take the hit for this. That this guy is a construction worker and he likes getting pegged on national, Netflix television. Not a good look for me, I'm not gonna lie. So we're gonna do a big X over here, and we're gonna do an X on her because she was a little bit much for me, I'm not gonna lie. I want to talk about Nick. Again, it looks like I don't think any of these couples are gonna get married, but keep in mind this list ain't over. Let's talk about Hannah and Nick. So Nick didn't have any of his life together. He was 28, he lived with his parents, which is fine, but when you're on Love is Blind, I don't think that's the best case scenario to be in. I feel like you need to have at least your own place or live with roommates. Like, I don't know, it's just a bad look, because if you're signing yourself up for a show that ends with marriage, you probably should have more things put together than not paying for anything and living with your parents, which again, I'm not opposed to. That's chill. It's just like, I don't know, if you're gonna get married, I feel like you should at least have some sort of network that you've built for yourself in your own life where you can take care of yourself, because there's no real evidence of that yet. Hannah is like the worst person that's ever been on this show. She is like very rude, very frustrating, very unfunny, even though she makes jokes constantly. She takes things way too seriously. Again, I don't know if I already said this, very mean, just very unkind. And she acts like because she's lived on her own since she was very young, that she's just like standing on business, and this should be an expectation for Nick. You gotta understand that people are gonna be at different places in their life at different times. And just because you've done something doesn't mean that the person you're talking to is necessarily there yet. Every single time she was on screen, very frustrating person. And also, this is gonna be mean. This is a personal thing. If I'm on Love is Blind and I was talking to Hannah and I walked out the pod to see her for the first time, I am out instantly. She just looks strange to me. I said this when I was watching the show initially, but she looks like a 5-year-old that just evolved to like a 25-year-old within like a day. You know what I mean? She looks like she just skipped 20 years of her life and then just became an adult. Like, I don't know, something about her like build is just off-putting to me. And the thing with Nick, he is not ready for marriage. It's as simple as that. And also her friends, Hannah's friends were the most frustrating people on the planet. That all of her friends acted like getting married was like the easiest thing to do in the world. They said that Nick didn't have to change anything about his personality, even though Hannah kept asking explicitly for him to change his personality. Also, making a list for somebody of character traits you don't like, sadistic. That is an insane thing to do. I can't believe she did something like that. Yeah, but Nick should give himself a couple more years to get married, and Hannah should just avoid getting married entirely. Also, I will say, Hannah having a gay best friend was a telltale sign of this relationship not working out. Nick is like a football boy, and Hannah very clearly does not care about that shit. And there's football women out there. There's some cheerleaders and shit. I don't know what women likes football, but I know they exist. Like, there's people out there for Nick. And I think that football was such a big part of his life that he needs to be able to share that passion, at least being able to talk about it with his significant other. Hannah, again, gay best friend. She does not care about that. She is not interested in whatever Nick has to say about his college football career, even though I think it's cool. I like competitive things. I think that's an interesting character trait to have, that you played college football. But yeah, they broke it off, and Hannah was more than mean about it. So I'm going to put a big X on them. I don't know. I just really do not like her. I think she's probably the worst Love is Blind character we've seen yet. All right, let's get into something positive for the first time in this video. My prediction with Garrett and Taylor, I'm gonna say they're gonna get married. That's my prediction. I think they're gonna get married and it's gonna go great. My only qualm with this couple, I have 2 qualms. One, Taylor was way sassier in the pods. She had so much sass, and then the second they meet each other in real life, the sass goes away entirely. What's up with that? I'm curious. She was put on a little bit of a front there. But Garrett, only problem with him is that, I mean, look, I'm going to be real. I think he's punching up in this relationship. I don't think he's nearly as attractive as his partner. But also, Garrett is like a hamster name. You shouldn't name a human Garrett. That's not a good move. That's exclusively for gerbil. And that's all I think. And that's my Love is Blind list. I'm going to watch the weddings now, and I'm going to let you know how it went. But I think these 2 are going to get married.
This season was horrible. This season sucked ass. It was crazy. There's so many problems with this season. First off, I watch Love is Blind to see bad weddings. That's what I want at the end of the day. I want to see a horrible wedding. I want people to get their entire family to fly out to one location just for them to say no at the altar. That's all I'm asking for. The fact that Ramses and Marissa didn't even make it to the altar. Bullshit, dude. Bullshit. Netflix should not have allowed that to even occur. I feel like there's been too many seasons of Love is Blind now where people realize they can just break the relationship off right before the wedding and you don't have to actually ruin people's feelings or disappoint them in person, which is what I want. I want to see people upset that someone didn't get married. They shouldn't have allowed Ramses to break it off. That sucks. It makes for way worse television. It's horrible. I just hated watching it. It's like, come on, Ramses. And not only that, I want to see a bad wedding. Once again, I want to see someone's, brother or brother-in-law, potentially, just get upset and start throwing hands. That's all I want. I want to see a crowd of people get angry. And for the fact that both the weddings, and there's only 2 weddings this season, and both of them went smoothly, and they both said yes, this is a horrible outcome for me. This sucks. It's crazy. Also, I realized when I was watching the show that I mixed up 2 of the couples. There were 7 couples this season, and by the way, it's not like these people in this show are particular characters. It's not like any of them are even particularly interesting. It just so, in this season, instead of having 5 couples like normal, they chose to have 7, which is way too much. I'm not going to remember 14 names of people I don't know, or half of them I don't even care about watching. There's way too much going on for me to be able to pay attention to one couple over the other. I was confusing people. I was misremembering stories and shit. I couldn't remember who was who. 7 couples, way too much. If you're gonna do a Love is Blind season 8, which they will, if you have 7 couples make it out the pods, don't record all of them. Just scrap the least interesting story. Just don't even have them on the show. That is my recommendation. You can't have more than 5 couples, or else I'm gonna start losing focus. I'm not gonna be able to know what to focus on. This season was just so ass. It was crazy. There was no drama. There's no gossip. The most interesting part about this entire season was Hannah being annoying and Leo being strange. That's all I had. That's all I had to work with. Tyler and his fiance, entirely non-problematic. They were fine. They didn't do anything, and that's the worst part about it. Every single season the show happens, I want to see couples get into fights. Like Chelsea from either season 6, I think it was season 6. She was great because every time you saw her, she was near blackout. She was drinking every episode, and she would get upset over the stupidest shit and cause trouble. Amazing. Amazing for the show. These people were too sober, they were too loving, and the weddings went too well. And even I thought my fingers looked weird. Even the relationships that didn't go all the way through, it sucked. They weren't that fun to watch because their fights were just one person steamrolling the other person, and it wasn't like an actual altercation. Tim's whole thing was ridiculous. I never knew what they were talking about. I never knew what the couple was actually fighting about. They were just talking about nonsense all the time, and Tim would get steamrolled every argument. And the same thing happened with Nick and Hannah, where Hannah would just steamroll Nick the entire time, and for some reason Nick actually wanted to marry her? Why? She seems like a really frustrating person to hold a conversation with. This show sucks. This show stinks. You can never follow up season 6, and especially with this garbage. Honestly, if I was a Love is Blind director, and this is the footage we got, I'd just say, make them wait another 6 months. We're going to do this again. Because the way it all ended up was just so disinteresting. It was crazy. They had 5 bad episodes, maybe 1 or 2 good ones. Honestly, I think the only good episode that I can remember is the one where Stefan or whatever the fuck, I'll put a picture on screen, Stefan, whatever his name is, wanted to do fetish kink shit with a random woman. That was the best part of the entire show. This whole thing is just, this season's a bust. It's just disappointing. Next time when you're casting people, get people who are more interesting, and also people who you don't actually think are going to get married. That would be way nicer. I'm getting text right now. This is horrible. I'm not trying to see someone be happy. I don't want that. That's not visceral. That's not entertaining. I'm trying to see someone go through not a divorce, but what do you call it when a fiance breaks up? A breakup? I'm trying to see some people break up. That's all I want. And I want them to break up in front of their entire family, which they didn't do. This whole thing was horrible. This is a bad day for Love is Blind fans, and I bet the reunion is going to be dog shit. Sometimes in the reunions, they drop little tidbits, little facts of information that are interesting. I don't want to see any of these people again. And they're going to make us wait a week for a reunion over like an uneventful season. I hate the new Netflix schedule. I hate that they make us wait for episodes. Love is Blind fell out of the top 10, most watched concurrently list on Netflix, probably because they spaced out the episodes way too much. No one cares anymore. And especially after you drop the first 5 episodes and they all stunk ass and stunk penis, no one wants to watch that. I didn't want to watch it. I was so visibly disappointed by this season. It sucked. Alright, I'll be back for To What the Handle 7, I think. I think that's the next dating show that I care about. But Jesus Christ, dude. Holy fucking shit. Come on, Netflix. Please, give me something good. I don't want to say Donkey Nation anymore, man.